Here's pre-calc. It's part 2 of your lecture for 6.1.2. This is problem 6-26, and this is our proof of the law of cosines. So maybe I should write law of cosines. So it tells you to copy this triangle that's in your book onto your paper. So that's letter A, and then it says label, I already put the answers in. It says label the missing segment. So the missing segment is this little question mark. So you already saw how I answered it. It's going to be B, because see how like the angle capital C has a lowercase c on the side across from it, and capital A has a lowercase a on the side across from it. Well, capital B is going to have a lowercase b on the side across from it on this big outer triangle. But they went ahead and labeled this little piece right here X. So this question mark piece is going to be B, the length of the whole thing B minus this part right here, which is X. So that's why I'm saying the answer to letter A is B minus X. So this thing equals B minus X. Okay, so they're just going to walk us through this. Now it says, use Pythagorean theorem to write a set of equations for the two right triangles created by the height. So see, this is the height, so I can call it this left-hand right triangle right here. And then there's another right-hand right triangle right here. So I'm supposed to use Pythagorean theorem, so I could just say like a squared plus b squared equals c squared for this left-hand triangle, and then I can go a squared plus b squared, but we know this thing is equal to b minus x equals c squared. So that's what I did there. See, there's the x. It's like leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. That's for the left-hand triangle, and this is for the right-hand triangle. H squared plus question mark squared equals c squared. So that's letter B. I went ahead and solved these both for H. Like I just minused on this first one, I subtracted X on both sides. So these are the same thing. I just I subtracted A. Sorry, did I say X? Yeah, I did subtract X on both sides. And then over here I subtracted B minus X squared on both sides. And the reason I did that is because the very next question they're asking me to write these two equations without the letter H. So I'm going to use equal values for that. So this next question says, use your set of equations from part B to create a single equation without H. So if I solve that for H and I solve that for H, if they're both equal to H squared, then they must be equal to each other. So I just set them equal to each other. See? And then they actually went ahead and squared this out and cleaned it up the best they could. And so that's what you see over here is I actually squared this out. So b minus x all squared, it turns out to be b squared minus 2xb plus x squared, and then I distribute my negative. And then it turns out that some x's will cross out. And then I got all excited and started moving letters around. I thought it would be nice to bring the b squared to the other side. I don't know. I wanted it like this. And then later on I found out that it's probably nicer to arrange it this way. So all this can be done, like if you want to go from here to here, all you would do is subtract this 2xb on both sides, and then you have this. Okay, so that's all for letter C. And then letter D. Letter D says write an equation relating big C or angle C, side X and side A, that's in X equals form. So I looked at the big C and the X and the A. And I was thinking about my SOHCAHTOAs. I didn't write them down though. And I was thinking C, X, and A. Well, if I was going to use one of my trig ratios, it would be adjacent and hypotenuse. So that's cosine. So I could write cosine of C equals X over A. So that's what I did. Cosine of C equals X over A. But they wanted it in X equals form. So I multiplied both sides by A so that it would have the X by itself. So X equals A cosine C. And then it says combine answers from part C and D to write an equation without X that is in C squared form. So we had this one for letter C and we had this one for letter D. And so all I did is I see this X. I just put it in right there. Well, and did a couple other, I also switched it so that the C squared was first. So hopefully you can see that. I just, see how it's -2 times X times B. Well, I just let the X and B switch places. So -2 times B times, this is X. Plugged it in here, and then when I saw B times A, I wanted to change it to A times B. And the reason I just wanted to change the order on that is because that's actually the law of cosines. Like, that's the way that I threw the paper away. That's the way it shows up in your math notes box. So all of this is just the proof of law of cosines. Okay, and I think that's it for 6.1.2.